It's such a long-running show. What's the secret of the show's longevity, do you think?
Well, if I knew the answer, I'd be running BBC television.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows. Every single project starts out with the best of intentions, or virtually every single project does. And you put the ingredients together as best you can, cast, script, director. All the production values are based on the piece being successful, and it either is or it isn't. And there's an elusive ingredient that you just can't schedule or buy, and it's a kind of magic. We struck a vein of magic, and it seems to have been quite a rich one, and we've mined it for all it's worth. We may now be reaching the end of the seam.
You say you're reaching the end of the seam, but I mean, the show seems to go from strength to strength. There's no sense in which it's waning, not from the viewer's point of view, I don't think. What was the thinking behind ending the show now?
That's a choice that between the production company and the BBC. But it was something that going into this series, the 10th series, we all knew it was a possibility, but we weren't certain when on the first read-through day. I think we all felt it was quite possible that it was the last one, but that actually that wasn't confirmed until far later, was it?
Very recently, actually.
Yeah.
So we've had to, as usual, play any eventuality kind of performances. So we've developed a method of acting because of not knowing quite what's going to happen story-wise, which is the Spook's way. Incidentally, it's a radical approach to television drama, in as much as we often start off with no full script. Occasionally I've started episodes just with pages.
Yeah.
So you have to develop a kind of catch-all performance that will cover any eventuality. And Nicola and I are particularly good at that. I think we've had to be flying by the seat of our pants.
I do remember one day, I think last year in Series 9, we were all given a new scene that morning, set in the meeting room, and I think I had sort of 4 pages talking about a submarine, and it was like a scene from a film. A lot of the time you want a camera off the grid to film the actors. I stood in the corridor sort of gently weeping and said to Peter, I can't do this, I can't do it. And he was sort of more or less like in the film Airplane, sort of slightly slapping me and saying, you can, this is what they pay you for. And you sort of, because a lot of the time, as Peter says, a lot of the time you're running on adrenaline, and I think that is part of the success of the show, that we know who our characters are, and because we've been playing them for so long, we can keep it slightly open-ended, and in a way adds a realism to these heightened situations. These people don't know what's going to happen next, because we don't have the full story. We can't play out some story arc. I'm going to play this scene really low because I know that in 4 scenes time I'm going to be up. You don't know, so actually you're playing it in a more realistic way. You're reacting to the script as it arrives, as one would on a daily basis in life.
Yes, because my first reaction to you're saying you don't know what's going to happen is that must be professionally just very difficult. But I suppose so long as some secret isn't revealed, that would have meant that you played those scenes very, very differently. As you say, then people in normal life don't know what's going to happen later on today or tomorrow or in a few years' time.
Watching Richard last year, when he found out that he wasn't actually his character,
Lucas North.
Yeah, he wasn't the man he was presenting himself as for 2 series. Watching an actor's brain try to go into reverse, and and the sort of actor he is, lay something underneath that was truthful. It was amazing. It was watching his whole brain flip over. I really felt for him, because that was very difficult.
Yeah, and actors who come in just for one episode often struggle with the concept.
Yeah. And they say, is this how you do this? Is this really how you work?
But everyone's on the same side, and there's a kind of comfort in knowing that the editor and the storytelling is so good that we will be looked after ultimately.
So the idea of stopping now, I suppose ever since 40 Towers and then going on through things like Blackadder, there seems to be this sense that no one wants a show to have a peak and then fade off. Everyone wants really to kill something off when it's going well. It's
partly that, but it's also part of what I referred to earlier, that I think we have exhausted the seam. For the last couple of years, it's hard to find these stories. They are complex, and you can't just pick them up. They're not lying around. It requires quite a lot of research and delving into just simple writer's storytelling skills, and they seem exhausted by it. We've done 80 odd hours now of television, and each hour has been multi-layered and complex, and production are struggling with it now, I think, and that would seem to signify that perhaps it's run its course.
It isn't a kitchen sink drama. You can't, the serial aspect that one is allowed to have in something like, Coronation Street or EastEnders that goes on forever. We don't have access to that level of naturalistic storytelling. It is hugely heightened and dramatic, with the liberal peppering of politics in an entertaining way. And I think, as Peter says, you can't go on with that forever.
Interestingly, the idea of spooks was around for 4 years prior to 9/11, and it was 9/11 really that kicked it off, because suddenly there was a massive interest in those amongst us who potentially want to harm us.
Because there was a moment, wasn't there, when the storytelling was coincidentally actually just too close to what had happened when Spooks was due to, or did air, just a couple of months after the London bombings, and there was a thought that those episodes might have to get pulled, wasn't there?
Yeah.
There was one particular episode, the tube bombings episode, which we'd filmed prior to 7/7, which had to be dramatically re-edited and restructured because it was just too close to the mark. Pictures of explosions in tube stations, so it's not. We certainly don't want to capitalise on people's misery.
It's a show that's famous for killing off, major characters that people have invested their emotions in at key moments. For most dramas, that's thought of as being a disastrous idea, but for Spooks, it just seems to work.
Well, it's another way that Spooks broke the mould, I think. As you say, it's one of the classic rules of drama is don't kill your heroes, and Spooks completely broke that. And it seemed it was a gamble, and it worked, because nobody was safe. And that kind of is quite riveting for an audience, I think, particularly if you're attached to characters. The threat that if you leave the room, they may not be there when you come back is quite gripping.
The series when Danny was killed, I remember reading that script and thinking, our writers are extremely good and brave and classy and daring, because a run-of-the-mill drama, this character was given a very heroic speech about how we in this country will fight against terrorism to the end. We will not allow you to win. And for that beautiful, heroic, rousing speech, the reply from the terrorist is that he shoots him. And I thought, at that point, you think our writers really know what they're doing. They give us as an audience this hope that there are people out there who have the answers and are looking after us. I think it's a really classy stroke to then say to the audience, you will lose them. Because of this ability, these superheroes, you will lose these superheroes as well. I think that's one of the things that has set it apart, actually, for 10 years. Because
as we speak, Tarek is lying on the floor, on the pavement, and seems to be on the way out. But I mean, this began right back with the very second episode, and that's the one that really kind of shocked people. A little incident with a deep fat fryer.
I've never seen it.
Have you not?
No, I've never seen it. Because when I went to the audition, I hadn't actually ever seen Spooks.